Welcome to First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, the birthplace of congregational humanism. We carry on that tradition of free thought today, dedicated to promoting a free search for truth, meaning, and justice. Our web address is firstunitarian.org. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you this Sunday, and I have a special surprise. I won't be talking as much because this Sunday we'll have music by my wife, Ara Tzab. You have heard her play a smaller harp with a trio, but never this, which is actually the instrument, the symphonic harp with pedals. That's the instrument that she plays, she studies, etc. And she will talk about the pieces and hopefully a little bit about the harp as well.
Good morning, everyone. I am very excited to finally be playing some harp solo pieces for you. First, I'm going to talk to you about the pieces I chose for today. So I'm going to be playing two pieces, the first and the last one by the French composer Marcel Tournier. He was a great harpist, one of the masters of the past century, a composer and a pedagogue. So he was trying to increase the harp repertoire. That's why he wrote a lot of repertoire for the harp. And I'm playing two movements of one of his suites, Image. The first piece is, it's not there, but it's the dancer at the fontaine in Eindhoven, something like that. Because it's a place in Tunisia. He got inspired by these landscapes. And the last one is called Evening Fête at Sedjenane. It's another place in Tunisia, and you're going to hear maybe a different kind of festivity to what we usually expect. And the second piece, the piece in the middle I'm playing, it's from Mexican composer Manuel Ponce. Maybe you have heard other pieces by him performed by Amos in the piano. In this case, it's actually a world premiere because I decided to arrange a guitar sonata that he composed, and I decided to steal and arrange it for the harp. So another nice thing about this movement of the sonata that I chose for today is that it was the very first piece Ponce wrote for the guitar, and it was because Spanish guitarist Andres Segovia asked him to start a collaboration between the two of them. So he was commissioning basically the pieces, and then Ponce composed, and then he was going to premiere them. So this was like the sample Ponce wrote for Segovia. And maybe by the end of that second piece, if you are familiar with some traditional Mexican music, you might recognize a little short tune from the Mexican folklore.
welcome. I'd like to share these opening words by Aurora Levins Morales. Say these words when you lie down and when you rise up, when you go out and when you return, in times of mourning and in times of joy. Inscribe them on your doorpost, embroider them on your garments, tattoo them on your shoulders, teach them to your children, your neighbors, your enemies. Recite them in your sleep, here in the cruel shadow of empire. Another world is possible. Don't let despair sink its sharp teeth into the throat with which you sing. Escalate your dreams. Make them burn so fiercely that you can follow them down any dark alleyway of history and not lose your way. Make them burn clear as a starry drinking gourd over the grim fog of exhaustion, and keep going. Hold hands, share water, keep imagining, so that we and the children of our children's children may live. So welcome to the First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis on this beautiful Sunday morning, March 2nd. Welcome to each of you, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever your pronouns, however you identify, whoever you love, whatever is breaking your heart right now, present in body in this space, present in this moment in time, with us online, you are welcome here. It is good to be together, to gather together as a community of seekers in this place where we commit ourselves to live out our common values, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to live out our dream of a world community of peace, safety, and justice for all beings. As we gather, let us attend to the need to walk humbly upon this land, the traditional land of the Dakota Iote, and in particular of the Wapakatu tribe, who still call this place home, recognizing the history of genocide and colonialism and their rights to justice and self-determination. May we be good allies, advocates, and partners with them. First Unitarian Society is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations. My name is Shelley Schreffler, and I'm a member of the Sundays Assemblies team. I'm joined today by our special guest, Reverend Victoria Safford, and I'll share more about her a bit later. You've already met Ada, and thank you for your special music today. And I also want to recognize the support of Amos, Paul, Cindy, Adele, Valerie, Martha, Julie, and of course, our amazing media team. Thank you all. So all ages are welcome here in the Assembly Hall, which is evidenced by our multi-generational space for families located in front of this AV booth. It's great to see it being used. And we've also created a space for those of you who would like to be masked and to be around those who are masked, which is also towards the back. So now I invite you, wherever you are, including those online, and perhaps we can wave to the folks that are online, that camera I believe, take a moment to welcome the morning. Greet those around you, scan the QR code. I think there's going to be a QR code to get the order of service, or get up to get a gray songbook at the back if you would like. Say hello to each other. So each week when we gather, we light our chalice as a symbol of Unitarian Universalism. We are led by its light, inspired by its flame, and drawn together by its warmth. We often light our chalice using words expressing our values and aspirations. Today we'll use the words of the UU value of love. As Paul lights the flame, please join me in reading the words on the screen. We'll go with what's on the screen. Yesterday, our distant ancestors gathered around a flame to share their stories and find comfort. Tomorrow, our descendants will gather round a flame, talking of a life we will never know. But today, it is we who gather here round this flame, seeking, believing, and being together. Wonderful. And now that our chalice is lit, let's share in reading of our congregational covenant. Love is the spirit of this place, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to love one another. So now I invite you to stand in body or in spirit as we sing Circle Round for Freedom, which is number 155 in the Gray Songbook, and the words will be on the screen. Cindy will lead us singing it through twice.
First Unitarian Society is a congregational humanist community. We're here for each other, our neighbors, and our planet. And one manifestation of that is our caring team. I'm Adele Hansen, and I'm a member of this team. We've not received any specific joys or concerns to share this morning, and yet I know we're all aware of those who need a little extra support or affirmation at this time during the evolution of our democracy. If at any time there's something happening in your life that you'd like to share with our team or with this community, or if you need some support, please send a note to Joys and Concerns at firstunitarian.org. You can also do this by using the contact form or on our website. After the assembly, you're invited to stop by the card basket downstairs to send a note to those who are unable to attend today and to people we might mention in previous Joys and Concerns. So let's take some time to stay in touch with our own humanity and to remember those who are suffering, in particular today, all of those whose lives have been overturned by recent executive orders, all of those around the world whose access to humanitarian aid is disappearing, and those living in hopes of ceasefires and peace. You're invited in these moments to reflect on all the joys, the losses, griefs, and milestones in our lives, in the lives of those we love, and in the lives of all beings everywhere. May all be safe, happy, and well.
Our reading today is The Revolt of the Turtles by Stephen Dunn, which personally is one of my favorite poems. On gray, forgetful mornings like this, sea turtles would gather in the shallow waters of the Gulf to discuss issues of self-presentation and related concerns like, if there were a God, would he have a hard shell and a retractable head? And whether speed on land was of any importance to a good swimmer. They knew that tourists needed to placate their children with catchy stories and amuse themselves with various cruelties, such as turning turtles over on their backs and watching their legs wriggle. So the turtles formed a committee to address how to live among people who, among other atrocities, want to turn you into soup. The committee was also charged with wondering if God would mind a retelling of their lives, one in which sea turtles were responsible for all things right-minded and progressive, and men and women for poisoning the water. The oldest sea turtle among them knew that whoever was in control of the stories controlled all the shoulds and should nots, but he wasn't interested in punishment, only ways in which power could bring about fairness and decency. And when he finished speaking in the now memorable and ever deepening waters of the Gulf, all the sea turtles began to chant, "Only fairness, only decency."
So it's my pleasure to welcome this morning Reverend Victoria Safford and welcome her back to the FUS pulpit. A graduate of Vassar College and Yale Divinity School, Victoria Safford has served congregations in Massachusetts, Minnesota, and Iowa, including Whiteberry Unitarian Universalist Church, and currently serves as chaplain to the staff of the Unitarian Universalist Association. Victoria lives with her family on the west side of St. Paul. Please help me in welcoming Victoria.
Good morning, everyone. I am so honored to be here with you this morning, to come back to FUS, and I'm grateful to my colleague Yulin for inviting me, and to Shelley for leading the assembly and welcoming me so warmly. And also, I'll just say, so grateful for this music today, which is just like healing water washing over us. Thank you. It's good to be with you all in these harrowing days. A couple of weeks ago, I was walking in my neighborhood in St. Paul, and a driver slowed their car. They rolled down the window and called out, "Hey, do you need a ride anywhere?" They couldn't see my face. It was so cold. I was all swaddled up in scarves and fleece and a hood. So they were offering their help. They were actually taking a risk with a random mummified coat blob moving down the sidewalk. I couldn't see them either. No, I said, "I'm good, thank you." And they asked if I were sure, and then nodded and drove away. So it may be that I'm just starved these days for signs of human decency, but I feel like maybe this kind of thing is happening more in recent weeks. More, "How you doing?" on the street. More chatting in the grocery line. More eye contact. And I want to be in that number. This fearless network of neighbors, strangers who are wanting to connect, longing to connect at some level, longing to connect at some human, merciful level. People are wanting and willing to help, and it is easy to forget it in these days. It reminded me of a poem by Naomi Shihab Nye called Shoulders. A man crosses the street in rain, stepping gently, looking 2 times north and south because his son is asleep on his shoulder. No car must splash him. No car drive too near his shadow. This man carries the world's most sensitive cargo, but he's not marked. Nowhere does his jacket say, "Fragile, handle with care." His ear fills up with breathing. He hears the hum of a boy's dream deep inside him. We're not going to be able to live in this world if we're not willing to do what he's doing with one another. The road will only be wide. The rain will never stop falling. We're not going to be able to live in this world, in this country, if we're not willing to carry each other metaphorically, literally, for real. We must learn and relearn, teach each other again how to feel the hum of one another's dreams against our own bodies and protect that fiercely. The driver in St. Paul did not offer exactly to carry me across the street like the man carrying his child, although I sort of think they might have done it if I'd asked. But it was tender like that. It was urgent like that. It felt intimate like that. When that driver stopped, I was on my way to church, not a Unitarian congregation, but one I've been going to since around the election because it's 5 minutes from my house on foot, and I'm feeling this need to be with people right near where I am, my proximate neighborhood. It's an old building. It's about the same age as my house, and it's in similar condition, the way it sits kind of weary on its old foundation, but it is sturdy enough to hold its people safely. There are maybe 24 adults in there every week, mostly older, and a smattering of children and youth. And the first time I went, a family came forward during the prayers of the people. 2 little kids, maybe 5 and 6 at most, with their parents, who were clearly uncomfortable in front of the microphone, and who said in trembling voices, "We just want you all to know that Jacob here uses she, her pronouns now. We'll help you remember if you forget. We are so grateful for you, our church family." And the kids were all squirmy and joyful and running around up there, and the parents were weeping, and the whole church was weeping and clapping. The next week, the offering went to an emergency fund for the undocumented people in the congregation and also in the wider neighborhood, people who work in the corner grocery store or who own storefront restaurants or the nail salon down the street. Now I was weeping. This church has a stained glass window behind the chancel, behind the pulpit, depicting Jesus with outstretched arms and long blonde flowing hair. And and words in the program every week explain that the window is as old as the building. It's actually helping to hold up the building. And because it will be experienced as harmful or hurtful or offensive or exclusionary, every week they project on the wall next to the pulpit a huge image made by an artist of color or an indigenous artist or a queer artist, depicting all kinds of images of God or holiness in general. They end every service there with bubble wands given out by the children, and everybody dances from their seat or in the aisles if they're able. And they do this even if the morning's theme was immigration and cruelty, or climate crisis, or the dangers facing trans children, or trans adults, or queer people generally, or black people, or brown people, or women, or poor people, or the rise of fascism, or the downfall of democracy, or the collapse of late-stage capitalism. They blow bubbles and they dance every Sunday. I don't believe all the things that they do theologically, and I don't care. And what matters more is they don't care. There is a humble decency there, this wide mercy. And of all the brave things they do, one of the bravest is the singing, in English, in Spanish, in all the languages of the people gathered. To sing out loud about joy and hope when there are only 20 people in the whole place, where every raspy, off-key voice is clearly heard and plainly needed, that is brave, and it makes everybody braver. It is hard right now to remember this, but there are all around us all kinds of congregations, coalitions, collectives, organizations, ordinary people, unions, moving through these days with us, these awful days, with love burning at the center of their being. Our beautiful UU congregations are among them, but we are not alone in this radical witness, this defiant, deliberate way of being in the world, this brazen, basic love. You are not alone. We are part of a wide, deep, ancient network of humans just trying to be more humane, wiser, and braver than any of us alone truly believe we can be right now. It is a different kind of bravery. It is not loud, not spectacular. And loud bravery is necessary too now, as never before, in-your-face kinds of courage. But I'm talking here about something maybe more primal, more intimate, something instinctive maybe, if we can just remember who we are at our core, remember where we come from, our ancestors, our comrades, all our relatives by blood and by choice. A colleague said to me recently, we cannot express our love for each other too often now or too much. And that is right. There are maybe 8 or 9 old church buildings, little buildings like this one, around my house. So there's the one I've been visiting, which been around since about 1908, I think. Another is boarded up. 2 or 3 are used just for 12-step meetings. Some still have church on Sunday, with new immigrant communities worshiping in the various second-hand buildings abandoned by the Protestant main line. And of course, one has been gentrified into a private home with a fence around it and a security system and whatever. All these congregations coexisted side by side for a long time on the west side of St. Paul, more than 100 years. And they remind me that old networks of mutual aid and radical imagination and generosity and joy, these subversive safe havens, they've been operating in plain sight all this time, amidst all the other more obvious and obnoxious networks of classist and racist exclusion, all the barriers that define and circumscribe any neighborhood. People have been finding each other in community for a long, long time, holding open the doors of their buildings or their cars, saying, welcome, saying, do you need any help? Do you need a ride? Saying, there is safety here, or at least refuge, or at least compassion, at least decency and mercy. This time we're in is a transitional time. It's been only 40 days since the new regime took hold. We are still on the threshold. We are teetering. It is impossible to know from day to day what the next step can be or should be, what an effective step would even begin to look like. And it is excruciating to witness this hemorrhaging catastrophe and not know how to stop the bleeding. Are we overreacting, underreacting? It's exhausting not to even be able to tell when every drop of optimism begins to feel like irresponsible denial. It's barely a month, and it's been an eternity. And to think of the moment as transitional rather than the end of all things requires a certain kind of stamina, a certain kind of imagination, a certain suspension of disbelief, a different kind of bravery than maybe we're used to. You know from your own transition here, right now, that it is not easy to live on the threshold of change. It's never a place we choose. It's not a place you want to linger long, the razor-thin ledge of uncertainty between the past you knew so well and the inscrutable future. But for you now, this transitional time with Yulin offers you this pause, a sometimes anxious but also spacious moment to gather into yourselves, among yourselves, the core of who you are as a society, this Unitarian society, this flagship society. The values that sustain you and define you, the parts of the past that you're proud of, the parts of the past you're ready to let go of. This interim time compels you to clarify all this, to boil it down, and also to risk in your dreaming together a bold openness, a courageous curiosity. It takes fortitude to stay in this moment and not rush on to the next one. It takes wisdom and maturity to acknowledge that you can't know yet what the right next step is, and to admit that no single one of you can discern it on your own. It takes a different kind of bravery to breathe through this time, trusting that together you will come to your future, which is not a destination, not some kind of promised land, not an end point, but a starting point. It's a new way of being together that you are building together, even though you have no plan and can't quite see it. I love this poem about the turtles, as do you, that was read to us. They convene so sensibly, They discuss so reasonably the concerns of their community. They appoint committees, hold groups to debate the existence and nature of God. I recognize these turtles. I'm looking at them. You recognize them also. And in the moment when their very survival is at stake, when the theoretical discussions become a little more urgent, one of their elders speaks. He knew that whoever was in control of the stories controlled all the shoulds and should-nots. But he wasn't interested in punishment, only ways in which power could bring about fairness and decency. And when he finished speaking, in the now memorable and ever-deepening waters of the Gulf, all the sea turtles began to chant, "Only fairness, only decency. Only fairness, only decency." Quietly, spontaneously, no doubt across differences of opinion and experience, the turtles begin to chant with one voice what matters most, not as turtles, not as reptiles, not as Unitarian Universalists or humanists or theists or denizens of the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of whatever, or any other labeled constituency, but as fragile, fearful, brave, breathing human beings alive right now, together on the earth. All at once, as if on cue, they begin to chant, "Only fairness, only decency." So imagine it. When you are quiet, maybe in your kitchen, in the early morning before others wake up, maybe in your office with your earbuds in, maybe on a walk in the city or the woods, maybe in your bed when you are still before rising or before falling asleep. Maybe if you meditate, imagine closing your eyes, drawing breath, and hearing in your mind hundreds of thousands of voices whispering in 1,000 languages all over the globe. Only fairness, only decency. Only fairness, only decency. You can almost hear it. What is the essence of who we are as Americans, as humans, as sentient beings? This is what we need now to listen for and to speak out loud to each other. That's perhaps what this transition time, the larger transition time, is for. Remembering together, discovering, discerning, deciding together. Everywhere now, there are signs of resistance. The former NFL player in California, Chris Cluey, who once played for the Vikings, I had no idea, obviously, arrested in a city council meeting for protesting a MAGA plaque that somebody thought it was a good idea to install there now. He said, among other things, "MAGA is a Nazi movement. You may have replaced the swastika with a red hat, but that is what it is." He was arrested for that, then fired this past week from his job as a high school football coach, but he has not stopped speaking out. The workers from the National Park Service who draped a ginormous American flag upside down from the face of El Capitan in Yosemite. The governor of Maine who calmly told the president, who threatened her in a public meeting, "I'll see you in court." The federal employees resigning rather than implementing horrific edicts, even though they live, as we all do, on their salaries. And what are they going to do? They're not going to do a certain thing, that's for sure. Bishop Marion Booty, who intimidated a tyrant with one word, and that word was mercy. The dairy farmers I just read about from Wisconsin and Minnesota who travel every year to remote villages in Mexico to meet and bring messages to the families of the immigrants who work for them here. These farmers go down there because the workers themselves can't go, not if they want to come back. And they let the families know that their loved ones are okay, and they thank them and bring photographs and put a friendly face on a vicious system. It is expensive to go. They have to bring a translator. Now it's even dangerous to go, but it's just plain right to do it. So they go. It's decent. Already this year, they've gone down and come back. The leader of Ukraine, ambushed by our own leaders, holding dignity, holding truth, not rising to the bait of humiliation for himself and his people. Anyone, everyone, all of you, each of you, resolving every day or most days not to yield to despair nor to cynicism. Anyone, everyone who makes space every day or most days for grief, which is real, for lamentation, for fear, and then gets up, gets dressed, gets the kids to school, the dog walked, the meals cooked, the work done. Anyone making space amidst it all for laughter and joy and poetry and music. The signs of resistance are like signs of spring in Minnesota. They are irrefutable once you start to notice. Someone said to me recently that whatever it is, Unitarian Universalism, it carries an expectation, an understanding that we will be on purpose benevolent in the absence of all benevolence. We will be courageous in the absence of courage among our so-called leaders in government. We will seek truth and speak it defiantly when all around us is lies. We will speak our love for the earth and its people, our people, when all around us is deadly and devastating silence. We cannot speak our love for one another becoming an increasingly large circle, too often or too much. And other voices all around us are rising with our own. Like the turtles, we will remember who we are and what matters, and we will chant it like a prayer. We're going to carry one another as the man in the poem carries his small child, as if nothing else matters more. And we will feel the hum of one another's dreaming deep inside us. And we will protect that.
Well, actually, I'll invite you to remain standing, or in body or in spirit, as we sing My Life Flows On, which is number 108 in the Gray Songbook, and the words will also be on the screen.
Yes, Good morning again. Still Martha Hardesty. Glad to see everyone here and online joining us this morning, because next week we will be here at 11:20, or is it 9:20? Whatever it is, we'll be here, and we know that between now and then we lose an hour. We lose an hour. Or do we gain? We jump forward, but there's a missing piece there. I mean, I count my sleep by the minutes. So just think what you need to do before that hour has gotten away from us. If you're part of the nearly 100 or roughly 100 households that have already filled out the green paper, or gone online, or gone to the office and filled out your pledge for the year, what are you going to do with that hour? Sleep? Right. Wash windows inside, it's getting that time again. Read the consolation of philosophy or whatever really makes you come alive. But if you haven't yet filled out this form, please make use of that hour this week. Take your phone, take this paper, take a pen, or if you don't have the paper and pen, go to our lovely office and they will provide that for you so that you can get the job done. Just do it. You'll feel so much better. We know, all of us, that we need this community and this place, and that need increases day by day by day, as a number of us have referred to this morning. The Stewardship Committee thanks you for listening to all of these messages and thanks you even more for actually doing it. And now we'll turn to our weekly Sunday basket pass. Oh, there's the basket. And there's the basket. And there are the carriers of the basket. So please give generously and joyfully as you are willing and able. You can use the QR code on the screen, which will take you to the online giving form, or you can stop by the office or mail your donation. And please feel free to reach out to us with any questions you may have. Thank you.
My name's Julie Stewart, and I serve on your Board of Trustees and as chair of the Nominating Committee. The Nominating Committee is tasked with recruiting aspiring FUS leaders for important roles on our 3 leadership teams, the Board of Trustees, the Foundation Board, and the Nominating Committee itself. Today, we will see and hear Nominating Committee member Shelley Schreffler talk about why she joined the Nominating Committee and why you might want to. Today is the last day that the Nominating Committee will have a table downstairs during mini meal. So if you're interested and haven't yet spoken with us, please stop by the table. The Nominating Committee members, besides myself and Shelley, are Caden Colton, Martha Hardesty, and Bruce Nelson. And now here's Shelley. Hi, I'm Shelley Schreffler, a member of the nominating committee. I'm also a longtime member of FUS, and for many of those years, I had only a vague idea that the nominating committee existed, and even a vaguer idea of what they did. And perhaps some of you can relate to that. Well, during my tenure on the nominating committee, I have come to appreciate the important role we play in helping to shape and develop leadership at FUS. The nominating committee is responsible for identifying candidates for the FUS Board of Trustees, the FUS Foundation Board of Directors, and the nominating committee. This work is important to the life of the congregation and requires only a modest amount of time, about an hour a month in the fall and 2 to 3 hours a month in the late winter or spring. Our congregation is made up of amazing, talented folks, and I enjoy talking with people about their interests in taking on leadership roles at FUS. I enjoy getting to know more members, especially newer members, and in the process, I often learn something new about someone I've known for many years. If you're interested in making a difference at FUS and having a lot of fun in the process, please talk with a member of the nominating committee. All right, now you have me in person. So we have a number of announcements today. So first, all members should have received an email earlier this week inviting you to nominate people for the Ministerial Search Committee. Please check your inbox and take advantage of this opportunity. There are 3 things of note happening after mini-meal today. Families and youth are invited to join Zola outside the lower assembly hall at noon to help make flower pot props for the upcoming spring equinox celebration. Excuse me. And if you're ready to learn more about FUS and explore our pathway to membership, join a half-hour welcome session with Membership Director Suzanne, who was here earlier, at noon in room 307, which is just down the hall. And our second Foraging for the Future conversation on identity is happening from 12:15 to 2:15 right here in the Upper Assembly Hall. We'll be exploring the values that form FUS's core identity. And exciting things are happening with our E2 programming. Alana Morris is joining us as a guest teaching artist for the month of March to explore the values of trust and global awareness through dance and movement. And on March 8th, Or Ahmed and FUS are collaborating to celebrate the Jewish holiday of Purim. Join us at 1 p.m. this Saturday in the lower assembly hall, and this event is free to enter with tickets available to purchase for special activities like the bouncy house. I imagine that there's an age or size limit for that, so make sure to bring your costume and check the Friday update for more information. And do you have a friend you think would enjoy life at First Unitarian? Let's all invite our friends to join us on Sunday, March 16th. The Assembly will highlight the benefits of connecting with community, which is particularly necessary in these times. Plus, we'll have a special mini-meal table and goodie bags to make everyone feel welcome. And finally, after Assembly, please join us downstairs for conversation and our weekly mini-meal. We have a donation jar and a credit card reader for mini-meal donations, or you can scan a QR code. Today's mini-meal is Mediterranean salad, chickpea piccata, and sourdough bread with roasted garlic herb butter. And we hope to see you there. So now let's enjoy some more beautiful music before we close.
As Paul comes to extinguish our chalice, please join me in speaking the words on the screen. We probably know them by heart anyways. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. All of these we carry in our hearts and in our minds until we are together again.
These closing words take us right back to the beginning, from Aurora Levins Morales again. Friends, do not let despair sink its sharp teeth into the throat with which you sing. Escalate your dreams. Make them burn so fiercely you can follow them down any dark alleyway of history and not lose your way. Make them burn clear as a starry drinking gourd over the grim fog of exhaustion, and keep going. Hold hands, share water, keep imagining, so that we and the children of our children's children may live.